Shabbat Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, I tell you what, I always look forward to these Bible studies because there's always something you can learn and grow from. And I'm grateful that we're in the final times and we're talking about it a lot more. And I do enjoy that as well. You know, we have gone through so much over these centuries. And it's just refreshing to know that somewhere along the line, this will end. This will not go on forever. He did not promise the Gentiles an everlasting kingdom that would just go on and on. I know it feels like it's still going on and on, but he didn't promise that to them. They only had a set amount of time to rule. And we're now at the end of that time, and I am so grateful. I'm so grateful. And all we got to do is stay out of the Most High's way so he can carry out this judgment on the Gentiles. And as you can see in these final days, some of our people are hell bent on getting in the way. It's just like when we see the protest. Now you'll see some of our people on video saying, "Oh, it's time for us to get out there." It's no, no. And see, those are the people that are going to get caught up in the Gentile judgment, and they're going to go down too because they don't know how to stay out of the way. And that's really sad, but you know, you jump in the way, then you go down right along with the Gentiles. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. Please give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you. Okay.
Paying extra for tire care is BS. You know, bad service. So at Midas, we're rolling out our BS free tire guarantee, included with paid installation and tax on every purchase. You'll pay nothing for flat replacements, nada for flat repairs, and zilch for tire rotations every 5,000 miles. That's $0 for all that. So with this limited lifetime tire guarantee, you'll pay a whole lot of nothing compared to what the other guys charge for tire care. That's the BS free tire guarantee, only at Midas.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to another one of our Israelites Gathering Shabbat studies. My name is Yadon Yasharal, and I am alone today. Brother Kased is out this week. Before we get started, we want to lift up the brothers and sisters in prayer. We want to pray for Brother Kased's house. They've been going through a lot of heavy attacks. We want to pray for their health and their well-being and spiritual protection, because they are out there on an island by themselves, way on the nether part of the world. So definitely keep Brother Kassed's family lifted up in prayer. Also, keep my house lifted up in prayer, in the house of the servants of the Most High, because just about every single person that I know that is doing works, to the best of my understanding, wholeheartedly for the most, some tremendous attacks. The amount of effort that it takes to bring these classes to you, and to be in the spirit despite all the things that we have to go through. And you have to ask yourself, one of the ox and I were talking last night about this. If you not under attack, you got to kind of take yourself and take a look and examine what's going on. And I'm not saying that we don't receive chastening for what we do and so forth and so on. I am saying that we receive chastening for the things that we do. So we will be under tribulation. The Most High has proven us And a simple analogy is if you a boxer and punches ain't being thrown at you, that means you're not in the ring. You're not in the fight, bro. So at the end of the day, we are the servants of the Most High, and when we do righteousness, we throw in punches at the adversary because we the opposite of him, and he's not going to stand by and not do his job, which is to show what happens when you are adverse to the Most High. So definitely keep everybody lifted up in prayer. We'll do everything we can to bring you these classes week in and week out because we understand that you're not just coming on Bible study classes, you also serving the Most High and you also getting blows thrown at you. And we're going to do our part to help you receive the firepower to stay in this battle. So the title of our Shabbat study today is In the Last Days, the Wicked Will Not Understand. In the last days, the wicked will not understand. And, this class, we've been getting a lot of emails and questions and comments, regarding everything that's going on right now and kind of trying to understand, prophetically, where are we? So of course we've done plenty classes on the last days and the end days, but there's so much confusion going on right now. I think it's a good time for us to get back into the bones of this. Again, no man knows the day or the hour, but we have a prophetic skeleton which tells us how things are supposed to operate, what we're supposed to do. So we're going to get into that, and hopefully by the end of this class, for some of our longtime viewers, they'll be sharpened and be even more ready for what's coming. And those that are kind of new into this walk, you can get a foundation, so you're not taken everywhere with what somebody think or what you've been told. But we're going to deal with what it says and try to get an understanding. So with that being said, we're going to open up in one of the most major prophecies. This this skeleton set right here is the skeleton for the entire biblical landscape, the prophecy for everything that we're going to deal with as a nation, all the way into us attaining unto the sabbatical kingdom and eternal righteousness. So this is summing it all up in one group of prophecies in one place. Now, we're going to get into this so we can get an idea under the whole grand scheme of things. Where are we at? Because everybody's saying we in the last days, right? So how do we know that? So we're going to open up in Daniel chapter 9. Daniel chapter 9. And if you haven't already, visit our website at israelitesgathering.com and download our free application. It's Israelites Gathering. It's on your Android apps as well as Apple. And we also have our chat app, which I forgot to get into, so that you can ask questions. So, we're going to get pretty in depth. So if you don't understand, by all means, you can chime in and ask questions, but it can be a little complicated. So we're going to get into it and we're going to go ahead and get it started. All right. So we're in Daniel chapter 9. Let me pull up the scripts. And we're going to start this at verse 24. And again, this is an open forum. So if you have questions, comments, if you've heard something different and you want to elaborate, you want to make sure that, because we're talking about, salvation history and prophecy. So we want to know what's going on. So we definitely want to take a look and get right on into it. So definitely ask questions if you have questions. The comments on Facebook are a little bit behind. So if you are got access to the website or the app, go on the app. Again, we have a live commenting feature that you can get on and ask questions under the Sabbath chat. All right, so we're going to Daniel chapter 9, and we're going to start this at verse 24. 70 weeks are determined upon your people and upon the holy city to finish the transgression and to make end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. So we just get on some keywords here. To bring in everlasting righteousness. So if everlasting righteousness is brought in, that means there's no more wickedness, because righteousness is going to last forever. All right. So this is game over. This is the end. This is the final product of Yah's work. All right. And to seal up the vision and the prophecies and to anoint the most holy. Right. And to make an end of sins and a reconciliation for the sins. So everything. Transgression is done, and the holy city, everything. All right. So it's saying 70 weeks. So it's giving us 70 weeks of prophecy. So what we have to understand with prophecy doesn't work like man's clock. Man's clock works like it's just continual, nonstop, and if you say 3 hours from now, it's exactly 3 hours from now. Prophecy has markers, kind of like how your clock works when you time it, when you clock in at work. You have the regular day, right, which starts, in this Babylonian calendar at midnight, right? And then you have your work day, which starts whenever you clock in. So if you work morning shift, then you clock in 6 a.m., 7, 8 a.m., whatever time you clock in. That's how prophecy works. Prophecy works as time markers start with a marker, and the clock in is an actual event or situation that the Most High says that this is when the clock starts. So that's how prophecy works. So to understand time, you got to look at events and the time that expires between those events. Yah is not ever going to be off. All right. So 70 weeks. Now, when did these 70 weeks start? How do we know? Again, we can't just guess. We got to read. So the 70 weeks of prophecy, right? So that's a week of years is 7 years. So 7 times 70, that's 490 years. So 490 prophetic years is where all these things are going to fit into. And out of those 490 years, each prophetic year is 360 days. Just like your each work schedule on a regular work shift is 8 hours. Anything over that is overtime. Well, prophecy has its own clock as well. 30 days equals a prophetic month. So 70 weeks of years, which is 490 years of 30-day months, of 12 months in a year. All these things have to happen. All right. So when does this clock start? Verse 25. Know there and understand that from the going forth commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Mashiach, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks. All right. Notice how they break it down. Kind of weird. They're saying from the time to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Prince, Mashiach, is 7 weeks. And 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. So the way that it's written, it can kind of throw you off a little bit because it's tricky. And the way that we think is so linear. But you have to break things down almost like a puzzle so that you understand what's going on here. All right. So what is the starting marker of all this? All right. So we have to know, well, when does this prophecy start? When does all this start? All right. Well, it tells you. It says, from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem. All right, so remember, Jerusalem was destroyed. We went into Babylon. All right, so while we were in Babylon, a decree was made for us to be able to return back to our land and rebuild our temple. So when did that happen? All right, so this decree was made in tentatively, you know, in their years. It was by Cyrus. All right, so Cyrus made this decree, and it was given out in the book of Nehemiah, in chapter 2, when the decree was made that Cyrus claimed that the Most High is the God of the world, and he is going to empower the children of Israel and put us back into our land and help us rebuild the temple of Yah, because Yahweh was the God of all the earth. That's what he was saying. So obviously the spirit is on this brother. Yah is using this brother to enact prophecy. So that's when the clock starts. So it's going to be 70 weeks of prophecies, prophetic years, 70 weeks of years. So 490 years from that point to everything is done. But now they're giving us a different marker here. They're saying from the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem until the Mashiach, 7 weeks. So it's given a 7-week breakdown. And then it's giving another 62-week breakdown. And that 62-week breakdown is also going to include the street being built again and the wall in troublous times in Jerusalem. So we have to take all of those things and understand it's going to happen in 62 weeks. Excuse me, in 69 weeks of years. All these things are going to happen. So if we know that there's 70 weeks for everything, he just gave us 69 weeks of that 70 weeks of what's going to happen. All right, so stay with me. So in verse 25, he said 69 weeks. So you got 7 weeks plus 62, that's 69 weeks. All these things have to happen. And they don't, and he breaks it up and says 7 weeks first, then 62 weeks. It's for a reason. All right, so let's break this down. All right, so to rebuild, to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. All right, if we go to John chapter 2 and verse 20, it talks about how it took 46 years to build the temple. So we know out of that 490 years of prophecy, all right, we know 46 of the years out of that prophecy was spent building the temple. All right, keep in mind, 46 years, 7 weeks is 49 years. So we got 46 of the 49 years that he broke apart in the beginning when he said shall be 7 weeks. 46 years of the 49 years of 7 weeks of years, because 7 times 7 is 49. So a week of years is 7 years. 7 of those is 49. 46 of that was spent building the temple. All right. So we know there's 49. So if you subtract 49 from 46, that leaves 3 years. So you can accredit the 3 years also into the time of having troublous times in Jerusalem, because they had to have troublous times, and the building of the wall. So that would give us the 49 years. All right, let's continue. Verse 26. And after 60, that's 60, and 2 weeks shall the Mashiach be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. So he's prophesying the destruction of Israel before we even back in there. We haven't even built the temple yet. And he's talking about when it's built, it's going to be destroyed again. All right. And he's saying 62 weeks of years. So if you have 62, and you also have that 7 weeks that he just gave us in 25. He said 7 weeks, and then he said, and 62 weeks. So he separated that 62 weeks and then 7 weeks. So if we go back to verse 26, 62 weeks of those 69 weeks that are given to us. After 62 weeks of those prophetic years, that's when the Mashiach will be cut off. So what has to be done first? The temple got to be built first. Then he got to be able to come and talk about, the temple's built before Mashiach. They didn't build it. They didn't build it after him. So we put the 49 weeks first. The 46 weeks, which is how long it took to build the temple, and the additional 3 weeks to build the wall and the troublous times and all that stuff. That'll give you the 49 years, which is 7 weeks. Then you add 62 more weeks of years. That will give you the exact moment Mashiach was killed. And all of this was fulfilled in prophecy. And why it's difficult to pinpoint it is because the way they calculate their years, they change time to make it difficult for us to understand these prophecies. What did they do? They first made a 365-day year. Then they did 365, 366. Then they said, we in this year, we in that year, and they confused us. But prophetic years is 360 days. So that's what made it very difficult for us to keep up with that. But he just gave us the frame of what was going to happen in 69 weeks. But there's 70 weeks for everything to be complete. But see, this is what happens. When the Mashiach was cut off, it's been over 2,000 years. It's been 2,000 and some odd years. It's been close to 2,000 years, right? So he died, 33 AD? So it's coming close to 2,000 years. So after he died, could it been another 7 years? It's been way more than 7 years after he died. So that means that prophetic time clock stopped after his death. And we need to find the next marker to start that final week of prophecy. So we need to find the next marker when starts the week, and we need to understand what happens in that last week of prophecy. So Daniel didn't understand all this when this was given unto him. All right, so I'm going to break that down again because I know it can be a little confusing. In Daniel chapter 24, 70 weeks is given, which is the whole prophetic framework. And out of the 70 weeks, he gave us what was going to happen in 69 weeks of the 70 weeks. That means there's 1 week of prophetic years left that we do not have the answer to. All right. Verse 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. There it is. There's the missing week. During this missing week, it says, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. So who's this he? Who's the he? And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. All right, so we know that's not Mashiach. How we know that's not Mashiach? Well, we got to understand what happens in prophecy later. We got to understand the sabbatical kingdom. We got to understand they will be doing sacrifices in the sabbatical kingdom. So why would he make it stop in the middle of a week? That don't add up. So this is somebody else. And it says, and for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate. So again, you know that's not Mashiach. You know that's not the Most High. Because once Mashiach hits the scene, all righteousness is going to be fulfilled. So there ain't going to be no more, he's going to make the way for abominations overspreading and all that stuff and making it desolate. Nah. Abomination, Mashiach, them two not gonna be in the same sentence. Abomination finna be destroyed. Mashiach gonna still be there. So this is somebody else. And he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and the determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So what's consummation? What do? You consummate a marriage? The marriage of the bride? So this abomination, desolation is going to be until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So there it is. The last week, you're going to be dealing with this abomination, desolation. So what is that? All right. So let's go to one more thing I want to look at real quick. Again, they try to make our stuff look like it's a fantasy. I'm going to share some antiquity with you and show you some evidence. Again, let me see it in stone. That's what I want to know. All right, so let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. We have something I want to share with you. It's called the Cyrus cylinder. All right, so let's do a new share. All right, here we go. So this is called the Cyrus cylinder. And what you're going to have in these last days is you're going to have a lot of people trying to convince you that the Bible is made up and, God is here on earth, as a man and he Mashiach, or he the chosen one, or you the Moors, and all this stuff is made up. And a lot of this stuff is based on truth, but it's not the entirety of truth. The entirety of truth is in this word. That's giving you the truth. All the details is nice. But at the end of the day, I need to know what's going to save my life and the life of my family. So we have antiquity, and I'm going to name a few. We got the Tel Dan inscription, right? The Tel Dan inscription literally shows the house of David by name in ancient antiquity. You got the Mesha stele, which talks about in Moab, which talks about the children of Israel. You got the Ippera scroll, which talks about from a Egyptian eyewitness standpoint of the 10 plagues going on. And one of the newer ones we're going to go over today is called the Cyrus cylinder. All right. So the Cyrus cylinder is an ancient clay cylinder. It's now broken into several pieces, in which written in Achaemenid royal inscription in Akkadian cuneiform script in the name of the Persian king Cyrus the Great. So this was at the time of Cyrus the Great. Cyrus, the so-called great, was the king who put the decree to free us, to put us back into Jerusalem, to rebuild the temple. So that lets you know that the Bible didn't make him up. He's a real person. And when you go into the Cyrus cylinder, it's going to talk about from a third party, not an Israelite captivity, but it's going to talk about the Babylonian captivity and how he is freeing us and sending us back to the land and helping us rebuild Jerusalem. So it's all right there in the Cyrus cylinder. So I'm not going to go too deep into it, but you can take a look. And this is like in London somewhere or whatever. All right, and they dated this, and I don't, they date, the way they date stuff is just pure confusion. But they dating it around 539 to 538 BC, which, it could be right, could be wrong, I don't know. But it's ancient. It's not something that came around at the time of these Greeks. All right, so this is ancient, and this is another culture. These are the Persians. So this is Aram, the Aramaic, that are out here writing our history in their history. So can't nobody tell you that your history is made up. So we just made up all this scripture and stone and all this stuff before you even came about. Makes no sense. All right, so let's get back into the class. So I just wanted to share that real quick, just so when we go over these things, you can know that it's not just we believe in what's written in this word, and that's fine if you believe squarely in what's written in this word, because I do. But I can also prove with antiquity. Our Bible is a history book, and Yah's word is true. So hallelujah. All right, so let's move on. We're going to go to another deep prophecy that we have to understand where we are, and that is Bereshit, Genesis chapter 15. So let's go to Genesis chapter 15. All right, so we're going to Genesis chapter 15. All right, and Shabbat Shalom, Sis Shirley Martinez. Good to see you. I hope you and your family are doing well. Shabbat Shalom to my bro Aaron Hicks. Good to see you, family. As always, a big shout out, Shabbat Shalom to my big brother Yafi Yehuda. And as always, a big Shalom to my bro Dre Day Akyam. Good to see you, family. A special Shabbat Shalom to Sis Ariel, and I hope you enjoyed your extra calendar year. And Elder Zahar, as always, love to my elder. Praise Yah. Good to see you, family. Andre Brown, Shabbat Shalom, family. Good to see you as well. And that's right, the evil one, the Antichrist. That's exactly who we talking about. In Matthew, in Daniel chapter 9. Hallelujah. So we are in Genesis, Bereshit chapter 15. And again, I had a prophecy teacher. Hallelujah. I had probably one of the greatest, Elder Ben Mel. He really, and he would cringe if he heard me giving him credit, but he was very, very instrumental in being used by the Father to help me understand how to understand prophecy and how to break down, at least according to what's written, and how to use what's written to be able to come up with an understanding based upon what's written. So this is not something that you just smart and all of a sudden this stuff just comes to you. This is something that you have to be taught. Even the people that were writing these things didn't understand this. So praise Yah. If you have questions, ask. If it doesn't seem clear, ask. We'll try to get to them. All right, so we're in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 15. This is the first book of the Bible, Bereshit. All right, and we're going to start this at verse 12 and go through 21. All right. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. All right, so we as Hebrews, we understand when the sun is going down, what do we prepare for? When it is Friday and the sun is getting ready to go down, we in a haste. Why are we in a haste? Why are we trying to get our affairs done? Why are we trying to make sure we purchased everything and make sure that we're ready, prepared to rest? It's because we know the sun going down is indicating that we're getting ready to go into a new calendar day, into a new one of Yah's calendar days. So when verse 12 is indicating that the sun is going down, that's letting you know that a prophetic day and time is beginning to end. And we understand with Yah, according to his word in Psalms, 1,000 years of our time is like as a day unto Yah. All right. So now we can take those 70 weeks of prophecy and let's break that down into 7 days. All right. So we are now approaching the 7th day. So we've had the 6 days of prophecy, the 69 weeks. All right. We've had that. And now we're preparing to enter into the 7th day of prophecy. Verse 13. So let me break that down again. I'm sorry. Verse 12. So this new day is is preparing to end. This is the end of the sixth day of prophecy, 6,000 years. And now, in the end of this deep sleep is falling on Abram. And who is Abram? He is the father of the Hebrews. He is the father of the Hebrews, the father of many nations, but is specifically the father of the Hebrews, Israelites. So a deep sleep has fallen on Abraham's seed, the children of Israel. And it says, a horror and great darkness has fallen upon him. So this is what we have experienced since falling asleep. A deep sleep has fallen us to the point we don't even know who we are. We called by a color, black. We called by two continents, African American. Well, if you African American, who's African and who's American? Is your father African and your mother American? Or is your mother African and your father American? Because that's the only way you can be an African American. See, it's foolishness. It doesn't add up. All right. So again, these are the two people that kept you in captivity. The Africans, specifically Western Africa and in Negro land, that sold you into slavery, and America that bought you in slavery. And if they didn't buy you in slavery, they enslaved the ones of us that came here. All right. This is the great darkness and horror that has fallen upon the children of Abram, Eberites, right? The Hebrews. And this deep sleep, when you sleep, you're not conscious. You don't know what's going on. And the fact that we have to go deep into this class because many of us don't know what's going on. And we're not talking about many of our viewers. Many of our viewers know what's going on. That's why they're here. But I'm talking about our people. They have no clue. Verse 13. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety. So that means for show, for shiggity show. Know of a surety that know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. All right, so here goes another important prophecy at the end of this sixth day in prophecy, in this 69 weeks, right? At the end of that 69 weeks, you're going to enter into the sixth day. And in the sixth day, they said, Abram's seed will be a stranger in a land that's not theirs. Okay, now we know we was in Egypt for 430 years, right? That's not 400 years, that's 430 years. All right. And when you go back to the Septuagint and all that, it says 430 years in Canaan and Egypt, right? But either way, here's the other part that lets you know that it's not talking about when we were in Egypt. For one, it says a stranger in a land that's not theirs. All right. We were in Goshen. Goshen is on the west side of the Nile River. And as we read further in this chapter, we're going to understand that Abram inherited everything from the Nile River to the Euphrates. So Goshen is on the western bank of the Euphrates, of the Nile. So that means it's in the land of Abram. So that would make Egypt not count. And the second part, it says that we shall be afflicted and serve them for 400 years. Joseph was the king of Egypt. He was right up under Pharaoh. He did everything he needed to do. So we weren't being afflicted then. We came in under the royal house of Joseph. So that wasn't no 400 years. And Moshe himself was brought up in Pharaoh's house. So at the end of the day, that doesn't add up. So we know that it can't be that because we weren't afflicted no whole 400 years. It was towards when another Pharaoh came into land, which would have came from southern Africa. And when they came in, the Hamites, from another part that weren't familiar with us, they didn't know us. Now the affliction took place. So that would discredit the 400 years being in Egypt. All right. And it says, and also that nation whom they shall serve. And this nation is not just a country, it's a system of oppression, Egypt, Mizraim, a system of confusion, Babylon. So that's the nation that they're talking about. A system of wickedness, Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what it's talking about. That's a system. That's not one particular country. All right. Now, that one particular country, though, does have a leader. And he's that country, this nation, is led by a woman. All right. And that woman is a nation. The great whore that they talk about in Revelation. All right. This is all symbolism. All right. And that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. So Yah was going to judge those nations that afflicted the sons of Abraham. And then it says, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. So we are waiting on the judgment of this nation. The nation of confusion, Babylon, with America being the great whore, which is the leader. We're waiting on the judgment of that nation. And how do you judge that nation? Well, it's a judgment process. The final judgment, we're going to get into that. But you hurt them in their pockets. That's how you take them down. All right. Verse 15. And you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation, they shall come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. All right. So going back, this 400 years, which we're going to prove, is the 400 years we have been in the United States as slaves. We got here August 21st, around there of 1619. And the 400 years of that affliction ended August 21st, around that 2019. That was the 400 years. So from that point, it's been judgment. So if you take from 2019 and you go about 7 months from 2019, from August of 2019, it's going to bring you in the beginning of 2020. And what did we have came in at the beginning of 2020? We had that big plague that plagued the entire world. And the systems they got hit the worst were those nations that had a heavy hand in slavery. They got hit the worst. Many of them haven't even fully recovered. Judgment began. And we are waiting for that judgment to end so we can come out with great substance. And it says, where are we going to go? So you're going to go to your people in peace. We're going back to the land. All right. Verse 17. So now we're getting back into the parable. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. So now we're at a amazing marker. So remember, when the sun is down, that's Arab, that's in between time. But when it's dark, that is the beginning of your new day. That's when you have your new calendar day, when it's dark. Everything begins in night, right? And it talks about this smoking furnace. This smoking furnace that they're talking about is the great tribulation, Jacob's trouble. We're going to get into that next. That's what's ahead of us, just so you know. Yes, we leaving out with great substance, but yeah, we leaving out a great tribulation. Just so you know, we leaving out here to enter a great tribulation. This is not, it ain't great news. The good news is, you know, he who endures to the end will be saved. But it's troublous times ahead of us. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. They want to hear, oh, everything going to be great. You know, you going to get raptured up. That's not what scripture is saying. All right. But this is not for us to be afraid, because if we believe Yah's word, then we know he's gonna save a remnant, and he's going to save those that believe on him. He said, if you believe Yah, that's counted as righteousness. Abraham believed Yah when Yah told him, I know you 90 something years old, you ain't got no kids, but hey, you about to have a baby. He believed him. All right. So you have that same faith. That shows that you're the seed of Abraham, that you believe Yah's word. All right. So as this sun is going down, this would be like the marker on a clock. When the clock hits 12 and the minute hand is on 12 and the hour hand is on 12 and the second hand is on 59 and it barely touches that 12 o'clock mark. That's where this point is, where it's dark. It's now officially the start of the new day. The day hasn't like progressed, but it's starting. That's like when it hits the clock. And if you stop time and it boop, it touched 12:12, everything was perfectly lined up. That's this point. All right. Now you have a smoking furnace. We have Jacob's trouble. But here's the good news. In the midst of Jacob's trouble, which we understand is going to be that last week of prophecy, a burning lamp passed between those pieces. So this lamp, what is the lamp unto your feet? The word. The word is the lamp unto your feet. So with the word being the lamp unto your feet, who is the word? We'll go to John chapter 1 and verse 1. It's going to tell you the word was made flesh, and that is Mashiach. So in this great tribulation, which will last a week, it's going to be so bad. And I'm going to show you how bad it's going to be. It's going to be so bad that Mashiach, if he doesn't come and shorten these days and don't come in between the middle of that week, we wouldn't make it. So the good news is if we make it to his time and we are his people and we serve him and he's our master, we made it. We good. All right. Verse 18. In the same day, Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto your seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt, so that's the Nile River, unto the great river Euphrates. So that is the land that was given unto the children of Yasharal, Abram's seed. That is our land. Now, if you count all the nations that are in that land right now, those are all the nations that are trespassing in Abram's inheritance. All right, so let's move on. So the thing I want to show you now is I want to prove to you that 400 years, we got another, just how you have Cyrus, the so-called great, making these decrees, and you have the Cyrus cylinder that's showing evidence and proof that he existed and that Yah's word is true. Well, you're going to see the same thing in our time. You're going to see another king documenting something. And we look at this king and nobody going to say that this king is some righteous person. But he's doing Yah's work in documenting something. And this king has no real reason to help the children of Israel. But he did. He documented something in time, proving that we hit this 400-year mark. So I'm going to pull something up real quick. It's called the House Resolution 1242. House Resolution 1242. Let me pull it up on the screen. This is literally an act of Congress. So this is House Resolution 1242. This is 400 years of African American History Commission Act. Again, how are you African American? If your father is from Africa and your mother is from America, then you're an African American. That's the only way. Or if you a matriarchal tribe, then your mother is African and your father's American. That's the only way you can be African American. Other than that, these are the two people that enslaved you. African nations and the nation of America. All right. So this resolution in was around 2017 to 2018, it was written. It says 400 years of African American History Commission Act. This bill establishes the 400 years of African American History Commission to develop and carry out activities throughout the United States to commemorate the 400th anniversary of the arrival of Africans in the English colonies at Point Comfort, Virginia in 1619. All right. So again, this is not the first point of slavery. Slavery was before this. But this is when this country decided to bring in the children of Israel and afflict them for 400 years. So this is the point. They gave it to us right here. 1619, and you look that up, that's August. Around August 20th, 21st, around that time. So Trump literally, because look at the dates, literally brought this in. All right. So 2019, he was part of this, signing this into act. All right, let's get back to the script. So there you have another, got nothing to do with the Bible. United States are not Israel. United States is a wicked system. So they are doing what Yah is using them to do. All right, so let's go back to the scripts. So there you have it, the 400 years. That's the 400-year prophecy. We are in the last hours of the 6th day out of the 7 days of prophecy. All right, so let's move on. We're going to go to Daniel chapter 12 now, and we're going to get more into the Great Tribulation, what happens in that last week. When you understand what's written, now you don't got to understand it all. Every year I get a little better at it. But when you understand the basic bones of scripture, then when somebody comes in and tries to tell you something different, you could easily rule it out because you're like, nah, that don't make sense. That's right. The reign of the Mashiach happens on the 7th day. Hallelujah. That is the sabbatical kingdom, and we're going to get into that as well. Right. Miss Liberty, you know who that woman is. Exactly. All right. So we're in Daniel chapter 12. And now we're going to talk about what happens in that last week. Because remember, in the end of it, it talks about this abomination, desolation, and stopping the ceasing the sacrifice and all that. So these are markers. We ain't got to understand everything, but we got to understand, okay, that's a marker. Daniel chapter 12. And we're going to start this at verse 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which stands for the children of your people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time. So this trouble is so bad that it's a trouble that's worse than what we've ever experienced as a nation since we became a nation coming out of Egypt. So, man, it's worse than the 10 plagues. It's worse than slavery. I mean, that's pretty bad. All right. It's so bad that the prince, Michael himself, the principal angel that stands up for the children of Yasharal, has to come down or we'll be wiped out. And it says, at that time, your people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. So I don't care how bad it gets. If your name is written in that book, you will be delivered. So it don't matter how much weaponry or technology or how many soldiers they have. if we are selected to be alive at that time and our names are written in that book, we will be delivered. Verse 2. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and to shame, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. So again, we got to understand the timeline of these things. You got to have the great tribulation first. Then after that, you can have these resurrections. And none of these resurrections can happen until Mashiach returns. All right. Verse 3. So this has to be after he returns, because he's the one that has the power for life, right? To give life, not the devil. Verse 3. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. So this is a transforming, when we are transformed into angels of light, where we like Moshe, literally, where your face is shining. You got so much Holy Spirit, your face is shining. You got to put on a lampshade over your face, you that bright. And we be like stars forever and ever, shining like those lights in heaven. Verse 4. So we know that's at the end. That ain't now. That ain't during the great tribulation. All right. Because we talking about people sleeping in the dust, waking up. All right. And it says the dust of the earth. So that's literally in the earth. All right. Verse 4. But you, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. So this book is sealed unto the end. This is why Daniel didn't understand this. Many of our elders didn't understand this. This is why we still can't fully understand everything, because we haven't reached the complete end yet. But what's a clue that we're in the end? It says knowledge shall be increased. This internet got knowledge everywhere now. You could be on a desert island. If you got internet through them cables underwater, or satellite phone, Tesla satellite phone or whatever, you can get access to knowledge in any language. And it can be translated to a way that you can understand. So knowledge has to be increased, and many have to run to and fro. What is the largest religion in this earth? Christianity. And what is Christianity's sign? The big sign of death. That when you look in that poison bottle, remember them cartoons, and it would show the poison bottle, they show the bones, the skeleton with the X. Well, that's Christianity's sign, that X. Just because you turn it to the side a little bit and make a T, that's what to and fro looks like. That sign that the Catholic priest makes, the sign that the Pope makes, that up and down, left and right, that to and fro. That's how you know we in the end days. Verse 5. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood there other two, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, how long shall it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in a linen, which is upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and he sware by him that lives forever, that it shall be for a time, times, and a half. So this is how long all of this is going to take place. All right. Time, that's one. Times, you got to have two to at least have 2 times, right? How many times you go there? 2 times? That's how you can be times. You got 2 and a half. So 2, which is times, and a time, that's 3 and a half. There you go, 3 and a half. So that last week is broken in 3 and a half. 7 years, what's half of 7? 3 and a half. Verse 8. And I heard, but I understood not. Then said I, O my Adonai, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, go your way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed to the time of the end. So again, what's the time of the end? Many shall be purified and made white and tried. So you're going to have to go through a trial. You're going to have to make it out this tribulation. Jacob's trouble, the wilderness. You are not going to just disappear and go up in the clouds and everything going to be good. You're going to have to be tried like every other servant in this book had to go through trials. That's witchcraft. If you think you're not going to have to go through trials, we started this class telling you we going through trials. If you serving the Father, the adversary not finna just sit there and look at you. He gonna mess with you. And who he gonna mess with the most? The people that are doing the work. Because if we could stop them, we can affect more people. So many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And you definitely don't understand this if you ain't asking, what does this mean? If you ain't looking at this, if you're not concerned with these prophecies, these bones of prophecy that we're living in right now, you're not going to understand. This is not a magic trick. It's not just going to pop up in your head. He says, bring to your remembrance. The Holy Spirit will bring into remembrance. If you didn't remember it the first time, which you didn't make it a member of you, you're not going to remember it because you never remembered it the first time. Verse 11. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, so this is a different marker. From that time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and abomination that make desolation set up, there shall be 1,290 days. All right, so you break that down, 1,290 days from the time they stop that sacrifice to the time that the abomination desolation is set up. So we got markers. First of all, they're not even doing the sacrifice yet. They got to have the new temple. That's why they keep talking about this red heifer and all this stuff. The Jewish prophecies that they got to follow that. They trying to set up a red heifer so they can build the third temple. And the third temple is you, by the way. You're the third temple. But anyways, they're going to set up this third building that they trying to set up, right? And they start doing all the sacrifices. And remember, they confirm the covenant in Daniel 9:27 talks about he shall confirm the covenant for a week. That's 7 years. So for 7 years, they're supposed to be a covenant. When you look at what covenant is literally sacrifice. When you make a covenant, bereath, it's talking about cutting flesh and crossing them between two pieces. So that means for 7 years, one whole week in prophecy, they're cutting the flesh and going in between those two pieces. Animal sacrifice, daily sacrifice. But somebody switching the project halfway through, all of a sudden, sacrifice stopped. Oh, you thought you were going to be able to do this thing that was ancient Israel history? It stopped. And now the abomination desolation is stood up. So how long is that going to take? Well, from the time the daily sacrifice is taken away, so when this person comes in and stops it all of a sudden, and from the time when he comes and says that I'm God, I'm he, right? It's going to be 1,290 days. So what is that in prophecy? 1,290 days with 30-day months, 360-day years, prophetic years. That's 43 months or 3.5 years and a month. So it's a little bit after a little bit more than 3.5 years, a little bit more than half of the last week, and a month after that. So you got 3.5 years, prophetic years, and one whole prophetic month of 30 days. Boom. The sacrifice stopped. Now the abomination steps in. I'm the man. All right. Now here's verse 12. Blessed is he that waits and comes to the 1,335 days. So now you got a different marker. You got 1335. You got a whole different marker here now. It says, blessed is he that waits and comes to the 1,335 days. So 1335, you divide that by the 360-day prophetic years, you get about 3.7 prophetic years. So that's over the 3.5 years. So that if you break that down, that's like 3.5 years and an extra 2 months and 10 additional days. So what is happening in all that time? That's a mystery. I've not found anybody or even seen anybody that can hint towards what that means or what's going on. That's just the time. These are just time stamps. As we approach closer, maybe he will give us the answer to that. But all we know is blessed that he that's able to survive the abomination, desolation, standing up after he stopped the sacrifices and saying that he is God. And if you can last that whole month and 10 days after he did all that, then you're blessed. So that means it's going to be a rough month and 10 days after this happens. Verse 13, but go your way to the end, for you shall rest and stand in your lot at the end of days. So again, that's another mystery. So again, the marker, the sacrifice ceases when this covenant is made for this last week. That's how we know the last week in prophecy will start, when the whole world is making a 7-year commitment. Now, the closest thing that I can think to that is they got this thing called the Abraham Accord, which is bringing a lot of things into place, where they got this new thing called Chrislam, where they taking Christianity, Islam, and Judaism and trying to bring it under one house. And they made some kind of Abraham Accord, which is supposed to be for 7 years. Now, that could be a marker. We don't know. But it's going to be a covenant for 7 years that the whole world is going to be so happy to take. All right. And in that 7 years, about 3.5 years in, it stopped. He's stopping the sacrifice. So at about 3.5 years and a month after, halfway point, he going to stop the sacrifice. And he going to say he the abomination, desolation. All right. But everybody who reaches about a month and 10 days after he does that are going to be blessed. All right. So let's move on. Let's get some more context about this great tribulation and what's happening. And how do we know when we're reaching that point? Let's go to Matthew, chapter 24. Matthew, chapter 24. All right, so we're at Matthew, chapter 24. And we're going to start this at verse 1. And Yahushua went out and departed from the temple. And his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. So that lets you know it was built up. By the time Mashiach was here, they already had the temple. It was built. All right. And like I told you earlier, it took them 46 years to build that. So I'm going to show you that real quick. John 2 and 20. Hold your place right there. I'm going to show you. John 2 and 20. Yahushua answered and said, destroy this temple in 3 days, I will raise it up. Then said the Yahudim, 46 years was this temple in building, and you're going to rear it up in 3 days? So why are they saying stuff like that? This is all being said so it can be recorded for our time, so that we can understand. All right, so there it is, 46 years. And you remember it was 49 years? So 46 years to build the temple, another 3 years, they had trouble. Then they had to build the wall. That gave you the 49 years. And then the 62 weeks of years, right? We told you what happened. That last 62 weeks of the 69 weeks we're given in prophecy, Mashiach was cut off. All right, so let's get back. Matthew 24. Verse 2. And Yahushua answered and said to them, see you not all these things? Yes, I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. So there is no stones of the temple still up. It was all knocked down. So if you see any other stones of the temple, somebody put that there. Verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? All right, so you got to pay close attention to the questions. They're sitting on Mount Olivet, and the disciples asking them privately, away from everybody, when are these things going to happen? What are these things? When's the temple going to be destroyed? Those are things that he just told them. And what shall be the sign of your coming? That's question 2. And the end of the world, question 3. But again, what is the end of the world? See, the Gentiles, you let the Europeans tell the end of the world is the world stops and everybody dies. No, that's the end of that's the end of the planet. It's not the end of the world. That's the end of the worldliness is what we're talking about. End of this age. The word that was used for world, which they should have used the proper word, was eon. And eon is an age. G165, eon. Properly an age. So when is the end of the age? The age of the Gentile, the age of the Gentile rule, the end of the age where Israel is in captivity, being occupied. You got to realize at the time of Christ, we were already occupied. Period. We had Romans, soldiers, Greeks overrunning the street. We had the Sanhedrin. We had the Pharisees. We had a king that was not even of the stock of Israel, Herod. So those are the 3 questions that he's asking. When are these things going to happen? We just told him the things that was going to happen. The temple was going to be destroyed. Not one rock going to be upon another, right? When is going to be the sign of your coming? How are we going to know you're coming back? And the end of the age. 3 questions. All right. So here's the answer. Verse 4. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. So there's going to be a lot of deception. Man can deceive you when you read. When you believe man over believing what's written, he can deceive you. Now, if you want to believe that man, you're going to be deceived. But if you want to believe the word, you're not going to be deceived. Because remember, the wicked will not understand. If you believe the word, you're going to repent and you will understand. Verse 5. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Mashiach, and shall deceive many. So many going to come in the name of Christ. Many Christians, right? And they're going to deceive many. Or many are going to come in the character of Mashiach and deceive many. And say, I'm Mashiach, right? Verse 6. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So don't be afraid of all these wars. Every minute they talking about this war and that war. Well, why Iran ain't blown up yet? Why the Ukraine ain't blown? Why Israel ain't? Why America ain't blown up yet? But you see nothing but war going on everywhere. It's not going to be that simple. All these things got to come to pass, but the end is not yet. It's just going to set the stage for all these things, but it's not the end. We're not going to blow each other up by nuclear weapons. That's not going to end the planet. It might end the country, but it ain't going to end the planet. Verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. So we're seeing these things happen. All these things have to come to pass. We're seeing famines, pestilence, earthquakes everywhere. We're seeing earthquakes in places that never get earthquakes. We get earthquakes in Atlanta, right? And nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And these are singular terms because there is only one nation, the nation of believers. There's only one kingdom, the kingdom of Yah. Everything else is everything else. The devil. Verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. That's just the beginning. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And you're a false prophet. If you giving prophecy right now, you're a false prophet, because Yah gave the prophecy already. You ain't giving no new prophecies. It's already been given. So you coming with some new prophecy, whatever, talk about Yah gave you that, you a liar. Because it was already given to us. So they're going to rise and fool many. Now, if you come in and you confirming what these prophets have already said, which is what Yah said, you ain't a false prophet. Now, if you misunderstand, you misunderstand. You are an erroneous person. You can be a false teacher maybe, but you ain't no false prophet unless you say you a prophet of Yah giving prophecies that's not coming true. Verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, because so much lawlessness is going on, the love of many shall wax cold. And that's what we're seeing now. And this is why we're going through so much tribulation, because there's so much wickedness that you almost feel like you out of place trying to be tamim, spotless, trying to be kodesh, set apart. So the love that many have of Yah, the love that they have for themselves, the love that many have for their spouses and their marriages and their family members has waxed cold to the point where they're betraying one another and hating one another and offending one another. What's offending? Causing to stumble, causing somebody to fall. Verse 13, but he that shall endure to the end shall be saved. So you're going to have to endure all this stuff. You're not going to just be zip-tanned into the air and disappear and you all great. You're going to endure. And when we hit Jacob's trouble, if you ain't enduring already, if you ain't finna just go run no 26 miles. That's how long a marathon is. If you wasn't enduring before, if you weren't out running, jogging, exercising, you not finna just get up and run 26 miles. You have to train. So if you're trying to endure to the end, that means you're trying to run this marathon. And you're going to have to start enduring now. And what are you enduring? The flesh. The flesh tell you, do what you will. The flesh tell you, you don't got to do what Yah say. The flesh tell you, you got the power. The flesh tell you, you feel this way. The flesh tell you, you're right. The word is wrong. That's what the flesh is doing. And you're going to have to endure that flesh. And you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to fall, and you're going to filthy yourself. You're going to mess your garment up. Your wedding dress going to be destroyed. But you're going to have to endure. You're going to have to get up. You're going to have to wipe yourself off. You're going to have to pray. You're going to have to repent. You're going to have to tarry with other people. And if you faint during this adversity, your strength is weak. Verse 14, and this good news. And what good news of the kingdom? That the kingdom is coming. And if you endure to the end, you're going to be saved. That's the good news. It's going to be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then the end shall come. The end of what? The end of the age. The end of the age of the Gentiles will come. So first, all these Gentile nations, all nations, they have to be preached this truth. The internet has made that possible. Uncle Sam got a lot of us trapped in here with the passports, or the lack of the ability to get a passport. There's got many of us trapped in here. But guess what? The internet's still bringing us to places we'll never go, some of us, or we never got a chance to go. Then the end will come. So if you tired of tearing, and you tired of all this stuff, and you ready for Mashiach to return, then you best be spreading his word as a witness so that he can reach all the nations, so this end can come. All right. So Mashiach will give context. Remember, we looking for this nation desolation spoken of in Daniel chapter 9 and chapter 12. Verse 15. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. So when does this take place? We just read that in Daniel 12. It says, from the time that the sacrifice ceases, from the time the sacrifice is stopped in the temple, in this so-called third temple they're going to build, it'll be 1,290 days. So that's 3.5 years, prophetic years, and 1 month. That is when the abomination desolation is going to stand up in the holy place and say, I am God. I'm Yah. That is when that's going to happen. So we have markers, and Mashiach is telling us. Now, what are we supposed to do when this happens? Next verse. Then let them which be in Judea flee unto the mountains. So if you in the land, it's time to flee. Let them which be on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. So you better be ready. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. Why? Well, didn't they show you that movie, A Quiet Place? Think about it. If you didn't seen that movie, check that movie out. A Quiet Place. When that baby cry, alerting to your location, that might be the life of you and everybody around you. So woe to them that are with child and give suck in those days, because babies ain't the most quiet. But pray you that your flight be not in winter or on the Sabbath day. So we know it's cold right now. How better fitting time to do this class when the whole East Coast is hit with this winter advisory warning, where they talking about some dangerously cold weather. Imagine having to flee during that time when they're telling you, everybody get your goods, get ready. It's going to be a cold one. Neither on the Sabbath day, the day that you're supposed to be having peace, you don't want to have to flee on that day. Why on that day? Because for then shall be great tribulation. Remember, we just talked about that great tribulation. Such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor shall ever be. So now Mashiach is giving you second witness again to Daniel chapter 12, that great tribulation, Jacob's trouble. And except those days shall be shortened. All right, so then shall be great tribulation. When is the great tribulation? From the time the abomination, desolation stands up in the holy place and says he is God. Now you have your great tribulation, time that never has and never will be. And it says, except those days be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So he's going to shorten those days. So how is he going to exactly shorten those days? I don't know. Whether it's going to be the sun going to move at a more rapid pace, making the day shorter, or whether, you know, it's supposed to be X amount of days, 1290 versus 1330, and he's shortening it from 1330 to 1290. These are all potentials. We don't know. Again, I'm not going to teach something that I don't know. All right. But I can say, I can estimate, could be. But what we're going to know is what it says pertaining to these things. And we're going to hold fast to those things that we can put our life on according to what Yah says. Verse 23. Then, when? Then in these days of great tribulation, if any man shall say unto you, look, there's Christ, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders. So, first of all, if you talking about you Christ and you ain't even showing signs and wonders, you're not even in the race to be Christ. Because Yah is in power, not just word. He ain't just gonna come and say it. You gonna know it. You gonna bow. And ain't nobody bowing but to anything but power. All right? So these false Christs, they know they can't fool the people unless they be able to show signs and wonders. If you being fooled by somebody can't even show you signs and wonders, what you think is going to happen when this false one comes, the real false one that's able to make fire come out the sky? All right. So there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, and so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But it's not possible. You can't deceive the very elect, because the very elect have been given this understanding of this word. So you can't fool us. You can't tell me you Christ, because why you got to tell me this? Why somebody say, hey, you know, Mashiach over there at Lenox Mall. You know that, right? Nah, bro. If you got to tell me Mashiach at Lenox Mall, that ain't Mashiach. Oh, Mashiach over there, he at Israelite Gathering. He over there reading with Ye. You a liar. If he got to tell you that, if we got to send it to you in the app, on the Israelite Gathering app, oh yeah, let me send you an app message, Mashiach here. It's a lie. Verse 24:5. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto, behold, he's in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he's in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as lightning comes out the east and shines even unto the west, and that can only happen on a flat earth, by the way. Something on the east shining all the way to the west can't happen on a ball. It can only happen on a flat surface, on a plane. That's why we fly in an airplane, because we flying in the air over a plane. That's why it's called the planet, because it's a plane, a flat surface. Verse 27, for as lightning comes out the east and shines even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, where there's going to be a lot of deaths, there will the eagles be gathered together. And what is the symbol of this country? A bald eagle. So there is the warning. Where that bald eagle's gathered, there's going to be carcasses, death. Verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days. So after this great tribulation, the sun has to be darkened. To my understanding, that's like the day being shortened because the sun is being dark, right? Because the sun's supposed to be out, but it's being darkened, so the day is being shortened. And the moon shall not give her light. Darkness. Remember, we talked about in Genesis chapter 15 and 14, a great darkness. And when the sun went down and it was dark, all these things adding up, it's one continual message. The sun shall be darkened, the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. So the angels, all those wicked angels that have no more place in the sky, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And when those spirits fall, they need a host. That's the great tribulation. This is everybody turning against each other because they're looking for vessels that will allow the wicked spirits to enter them. And the good angels, the angels of Yah, need vessels too. Verse 30. And then in this complete darkness, now you ain't got to tell nobody. Because if it's dark everywhere and all of a sudden there's light, everybody knows. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in Shamayim in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So who's mourning? The tribes of the earth. So all the people of this earth. Go back to that kingdom versus kingdom, nation against nation. You got the tribes of the earth. That's one kingdom. That's one nation. The nation of the adversary, the devil, they the ones mourning. His people, the tribes of Yasharal, and those that are going to be affixed unto them, they are going to be celebrating differences. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with the power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven unto the other. So we aren't going to all be in one place. We ain't going to all be in Jerusalem. We're going to be scattered abroad, and he's going to gather us. All right. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When the branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So likewise, when you shall see all these things, know that it's near, even at the doors. So we're seeing these things happen. That means it's close. He's very close. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. So that generation was there when Mashiach was there. That's the Gentile rule. The Gentiles were ruling before Mashiach. That generation is still here. And that is not going to pass until all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. But of the specific day, all right? But of that day and hour, no man know. Not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So nobody knows the exact day. Don't mean we can't know the season. The exact hour. No man knows. Even Mashiach don't know the exact hour. He know when he getting ready to go back. And how you know he know? Because how them demons knew, hey, it ain't time for you to torment us yet. You came here early. So how the demons know? If the demons know, you think they know more than Yah? You think they know more than the word? So Mashiach knows, but he don't know the exact day. So if anybody coming here telling you the exact day and hour, they false prophets, they liars. Because the devil definitely don't know. If Mashiach don't know. Verse 37, but this is how you'll know. But as in the days of Noah, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days they were before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. So how is it as in the day of Noah? So does that mean it's bad to be marrying and giving in marriage and eating, drinking? That's not saying that's bad. But what it's saying is they're going to be busy doing those things and not listening to the ministers that are out here warning. It's about to be game over. I ain't worried about it because I'm too busy drinking and marrying and partying. And they're not hearing that until it's too late. That's as in the day of Noah. And they knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. It's too late. It's too late. Once he comes, the judgment, he's coming here to judge. And then shall two be in the field. One shall be taken, the other left. All right. So you think that you being taken is a good thing? Nah, that's not a good thing. You think that's the rapture? Nah, that's not a good thing. And the other left. Because remember, it says the meek gonna inherit the earth, right? So if you taken away, that's not good. Two women shall be grinding at the mill. And what that means is you had those big circles, right? Which was the mills. And they had the pole through it. And they had two women pushing on opposite directions. All right. So that they could grind a heavy mill. Right. And it says one taking, the other's left. So two of them working. They both doing works. One of them taken out, the other left. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour the Adonai does come. But know this, that if the goodman of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched. He would have not suffered his house to be broken up. So if you knew that they was going to break in your house at this day and this hour and all that, you would be there. You'd have the police there. You'd have the guns pointed. You'd have everything waited, the light on. Therefore, be you also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man comes. So when you think he not coming, that's when he shows up. So if you thought he was coming, you wouldn't be busy. You wouldn't be marrying and drinking and partying and you wouldn't be doing all that at that exact moment. You're not expecting him to come, because if you was expecting him to come, you'd be working. So we can't always be working. We got seventh day. We got to rest at least one day, right? Well, most of us, priests, we got to work. We got to profane the Sabbath every Shabbat and held blameless in a working manner, working for Yah. So that just means you need to spend a healthy amount of time spreading this good news, doing your part. Because we don't know when he's coming, and you don't want to get caught in a marriage, getting drunk, doing whatever, and then he pops up. And you should have been out here warning people that he was about to come and judge. All right, verse 45. Who then is faithful and a wise servant, whom his master has made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his master, when he comes, shall find so doing. So when Mashiach come, you are blessed. And remember, blessed is he that reached the 1330 days. So after that abomination, desolation come, right? After he comes, you got about 2 months and 10 days to be blessed. 2 months and 10 days. So again, these are mysteries. And even on this class, more things are being revealed than I didn't even understand from before. We don't have a lot of time. You need to be working. Once we know it's game on and you in the ring, you need to be throwing punches. If you step in that ring and it's fight time and you not throwing punches, you finna get knocked out. You can only dodge so much. You can only block so much. Eventually, the best defense is a good offense. You're going to have to be throwing punches. So you better be out there, priests of Israel, Ariel, the lion-like of Yah. You better be out there throwing punches. You better be out there, Isaiah 58, crying aloud for your people. Because when big bro come and you not working, that's your behind. Verse 48. Verse 47. Verily I say unto you that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. And if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my master delays his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants and to eat and drink with the drunken. So why would he smite his fellow servants? So you think Mashiach not coming. So you gonna mistreat a fellow servant and you gonna smite him because you want to eat and drink and become drunken? Well, the master of that servant shall come in a day when he looks not for him. So the Shabbat, you best be looking for him. He shouldn't sneak up on you on the Shabbat. All days you should be looking for Yah. You should be looking for the master. You should be looking for the word. And he's going to come in an hour that he is not aware of. Now, if you're not guarding this Shabbat, he might show up on the Shabbat on your behind. Because you're not guarding the Shabbat. You caring more about your flesh than you caring about Yah's Sabbath. He might come in that day. Because we wouldn't be expecting it then. He'd be like a thief showing up in the night. Verse 51. And shall cut him asunder and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And you know, today I watched this movie. It was called Send Help. No, that's not it. No, that's not wrong movie. Excuse me. It was called We Bury the Dead. Man, check that movie out. We Bury the Dead. There's some hidden stuff in there. But the thing that keyed out me was the gnashing of the teeth. There was some gnashing of teeth. It was so horrible. I had to put it on mute. I can't even hear it. It's worse than scratching a chalkboard. It's that type of sound that they were creating in that movie. And I couldn't even, I had to put it on mute. So imagine that. That gave me some perspective of how bad that's going to be in the lake of fire, where you're weeping, crying, and gnashing your own teeth. So let's move on. Let's go into the Apocrypha. Now, if you do not have accurate access to the 1611 King James Version, then visit our application, Israelite Gathering, or visit our website, and you can access all of this. So we're going into 2nd Ezra. All right, so this is the remaining part of the prophet Ezra that they took out the Bible. A lot of this stuff gives us a lot of wisdom into the latter days and a lot of wisdom into who did what to us. All right, so 2nd Ezra will be considered the third book of Ezra. You got Ezra, then you got 1st Esdras and 2nd Ezra. So it'll be like the third book of Ezra. All right, and we're going to read chapter 15, and we're going to read 1 through 27. All right, so I know this is pretty heavy. This is a heavy class. This is not what everybody is comfortable with. This is why the Catholic Church don't even read Revelations. They terrified of this. And, this is very similar to, I would say, atonement. With atonement, listen, we ain't looking forward to going through whatever suffering we have to go through. But at the end of the day, we're looking forward to being forgiven of our sins and being cleansed and being one with the Father and being one as a nation. So it's the same thing. We're not looking forward to the type of suffering that we're going to have to go through in this tribulation, but we know what comes out of it. Being one with the Father, being free of our sins, all these things, it's the same principle. So although it's hard to deal with, we got to look at these things. We can't be afraid. We have to fear Yah, and we have to stand in these dangers, because we are going to be those heroes. We're going to be those people that are standing in the face of danger that Yah is going to use. Because who is going to believe more than the believer? Nobody's going to believe more than the believer. Second Esdras, chapter 15, start this at verse 1. Behold, speak you in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in your mouth, says Yahweh. So there's prophecies and there's all types of warnings that's specifically for the children of Israel, specifically for Yasharal, biblical Israel. Speak these in the ears of my people. This is Ezra. And cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. So if this is supposed to be written and down, how are you taking this out of our book? This is the Protestant church that did this, that pulled this stuff out. The same guy you like to call Martin Luther, right? That the Christians love him, right? Because of Martin Luther King. Well, there's people, the ones that pulled it out. The Protestants. All right. Verse 3, fear not the imaginations against you. Let not the incredulity of them trouble you that speak against you. So they got all these imaginations, 6G they coming out with, and all types of stuff that they doing. All these so-called medical cures, lose 100 pounds overnight, all that weird stuff that they imagine against you. Don't fear them. All right. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. You have faith in flesh. You got faith in the system, in the world, and you don't want to have faith in Yah's word. You're going to die in that unfaithfulness. Behold, says Yahweh, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. So the whole world is going to get plagued. The whole world. For wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore, says Yahweh, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood cries unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. And therefore, says Yahweh, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Now, how many of us is dwelling in the place they call Egypt now? Not many of us. Even the Egyptians ain't even Egyptians no more. So this is talking about Mizraim, all right? Now, Egypt, in their languages, they call themselves Kemet, right? Which is even a Hebrew word. But we call it Mizraim, the house of bondage, all right? The house of bondage is what we call it. So, I would not suffer them to dwell in the land of the house of bondage, America. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Mizraim with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. So he's not talking about destroying Kemet. Again, it says that Kemet will never be a superpower again. And they haven't. They're already destroyed. He said, I'm going to bring back the plagues as before. Mizraim, Egypt got hit with 10 plagues. That's what's coming in this tribulation. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that Elohim shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, for the seed shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a fearful constellation. That's what you're going to see in the sky. Fearful stars. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and the destruction draws near, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And you want to talk about what a fearful constellation is? Look what they had in the sky the other day. They literally had a smiley face in the sky, looking dead at us. Whew. The Most High laughing at us, right? Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draws near, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Hey, remember what we went through in 2020, especially down here in these so-called black cities, like Atlanta, a black city. They treat us like slaves, prisoners. We couldn't even leave. We couldn't go from one city to the next. And you know what they're preparing for right now? The post office. We got several friends that work with the post office. They got to carry their ID and their emergency personnel stuff everywhere they go. They just made an announcement to the post office that all employees have to have that, like back in 2020. They doing all that. What are they telling you? You ain't gonna be able to go from city to city without this ID. How they know that already? For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Shut up, Swayze. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So again, that's told you that word again, great tribulations, telling you what's going to happen in this time. While you got people thinking they preparing for the government, they preparing to fight the white man or whatever foolish race war. It's your neighbor. When your neighbor know you got food or you got goods, and his kids is starving, his wife is starving, they running up in your house. But it says, my people shall eat. So the believers, they're going to be straight. And they're going to be straight because you run up in a believer's house, it ain't going to be good. Verse 20, behold, says Elohim, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the west, and Libanus to turn themselves one against another and repay the things that they have done to them. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom. Thus says Adonai, thus said Yahweh Elohim. So this is why they're pulling this out. They don't want to hear this. Just like what you did to his chosen, this is what's going to happen to you. Verse 22, my right hand shall not spare the sinners, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood on the earth. The fire is gone forth from his wrath and has consumed the foundations of the earth, and the sinners like the straws kindled. Woe unto them that sin and keep not my commandments, says Yahweh. So again, just in case you confuse what sin is, not keeping Yah's commandments. I will not spare them. Go your way, you children, from the power. Defile not my sanctuary. For Yah knows all them that sin against him, and therefore delivers he them unto death and destruction. So that is the repayment for going against Yah's commandments, death and destruction. So do you think leading up to the Great Tribulation or during the Great Tribulation, you're going to be able to commit transgression? When he's telling you death and destruction is the payment for that. So do you want to gamble when the payment of death and destruction is literally at hand, that you're going to be able to walk without transgression, and all you do now is not care about your transgressions? You ain't going to automatically know how to walk. And look at the children of Israel that's trying. We trying. And we beating ourselves up daily for falling at this word. And you think you just finna all of a sudden, oh yeah, you got to keep the word or I'm going to die. Then all of a sudden you're going to walk in righteousness? Your brain don't operate that way. The spirit don't operate that way. Verse 27. For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and you shall remain in them. For Elohim shall not deliver you, because you have sinned against him. Now the whole world going to be set with plagues. But America, Babylon going to get hit with the biggest one. The biggest thing hit with 10. Verse 28, behold a horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east. All right, let's stop right there. I want to stop right there. All right. Let's move on. Let's go to Yeshaya chapter 33, Isaiah chapter 33. Isaiah chapter 33, and we're going to start this at verse 1. Woe to you that spoils, and you was not spoiled, and deals treacherously, and you deal not treacherously with you. When you shall cease to spoil, you shall be spoiled. And when you shall make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with you. And America has done wicked to everybody. And then now you want to clean up your act and act like you want to do things decently ordered. It's not going to happen. It's too late. Verse 2. O Yahweh, be gracious unto us. We have waited for you. Be you their arm every morning, our salvation also in the time of trouble. At the noise of the tumult, the people fled. At the lifting up of yourself, the nations were scattered. And your spoil shall be gathered like the gathering of the caterpillar, as the running to and fro of locusts shall he run upon them. Yahweh is exalted, for he dwells on high. He hath filled Zion with judgment and righteousness, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of your times, and strength of salvation. The fear of Yah is his treasure. So as we approach these dangerous times, wisdom and knowledge is going to be the stability of the times. All right, not your money, not whatever place you live. Wisdom and knowledge, and the fear of Yah and the strength of salvation is his treasure. That's the valuable. All right, let's stop right there. Let's go to Joel chapter 2, and then I got one more for the conclusion. Yoel chapter 2. So how are we going to survive these times? Well, when we have this wisdom and stability and strength of salvation and fear of Yah, we receive supernatural powers, things that they cannot explain, that they study in the government, the CIA trying to stay, can't figure it out. The same thing that allowed us to survive these 7 captivities. No other people would have survived that. It's supernatural. Yoel chapter 2 and verse 1. Blow you the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh comes, for it is near at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains. A great people, strong. They're a great people and a strong. There has not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. So he's talking about what's coming our way and what's about to do judgment. A fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land is a garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, yea, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as of horsemen, so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devours the stubble, and as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face the people shall be in much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march everyone on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. This is something supernatural. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk everyone in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. A man falls on a sword, he's going to die. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. So this is what's happening in that time. How are you going to beat that? I don't care how much martial art training how are you going to beat somebody that fall on a sword and don't die without armor? They just fall and don't die. They running like weeping on tops of mountains. What? Climbing walls like men of war, coming through windows and roofs. You're going to need supernatural help in dealing with this. And Yahweh shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great, for he is strong that executes his word. For the day of Yahweh is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? Therefore also know, says Yahweh, turn you even to me with all your heart, and with fasting and with weeping and with mourning, and rend your heart and not your garments, and turn unto Yahweh your Elohim, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and repenteth him of the evil. So rend your heart, not your garment. Stop making this outward show of, oh, you so concerned. Rend your heart. Put your heart to the work. Tear away the stone off of your heart. Who knoweth he will return and repent and leave a blessing behind him, even a meat offering and a drink offering unto Yahweh your Elohim. Blow the trumpet in Zion. Sanctify a fast. Call a solemn assembly. Gather the people. Sanctify the congregation. Assemble the elders. Gather the children and those that suck the breast. Let the bridegroom go forth out of his chamber and the bride out of her closet. Let the priests, the ministers of Yahweh, weep between the porch and the altar. And let them say, spare your people, O Yahweh, and give not your inheritance to reproach, that the heathen should rule over them. Wherefore should they say among the people, where is their Elohim? Then will Yah be jealous for his land and pity his people. Yea, Yahweh will answer and say unto his people, behold, corn and wine and oil, and you shall be satisfied therewith. And I will no more make you a reproach among the heathen, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face towards the east, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he has done great things. Fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice, for Yahweh will do great things. All right, let's move down a little bit. Verse 28, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of Yahweh comes. So he's going to give us the spirit to deal with these things before we have to go through these tests. So you got to practice walking in the spirit. How are you even going to be able to identify the spirit? And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of Yahweh shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as Yahweh hath said, and in the remnant whom Yahweh shall call. Hallelujah. All right, so let's go to the conclusion. We're going to go to Revelation chapter 20, and we're going to wrap it all up. Revelation wraps up from the beginning of the book to the end of the book. All right, so again, 70 weeks to fulfill all righteousness. And all righteousness is fulfilled once everything is put away. That last day is the last 1,000 years of peace. The seventh day, 1,000 years of peace. That will give us the 70 weeks, because after that 1,000 years, it's a wrap. Ain't no more evil. And now we getting into the first and second death. Yes, that line that Drake told you, YOLO, you only live once, that's a lie. You can die twice. Revelation chapter 20 and verse 1. This is the sabbatical kingdom we're getting into. And I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. And he cast him into a bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years shall be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed for a little season. So people like to say, oh yeah, we in that time where the devil's loose for a little season. No, we not. For him to be loosed for a little season, he got to be locked up for 1,000 years in a bottomless pit. And if the adversary, everything that's against Yah, adverse, is locked up, we'd have peace. When have we had a year of peace? Nowhere in history, much less 1,000 years. When have we had a day of peace? So after the 1,000 years, he got to be loose for a little season. Verse 4. All right, so again, it's jumping around. So you got to look at markers that tell you certain things so you know where you're at. All right, so him being loose for a little season has to be after he's put away for 1,000 years. So the sabbatical kingdom. Verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, and for the word of Elohim, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Mashiach 1,000 years. So, question is, well, what about all those people that were before Mashiach? What about them? Or, how did they get into the equation? How can they be raised up if they didn't get into Yahushua? Well, first of all, the witness of Yahushua is the witness of this word. It says it right there. And for the word of Elohim. So all those people that were removed from the body, beheaded, for the word of Yah, which is Mashiach, or beheaded for the witness of Mashiach coming in the flesh, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Mashiach 1,000 years. That is the sabbatical kingdom. So this first resurrection, right? That's what this is, the first resurrection. People being raised up to reign with Mashiach for 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. So again, when you're talking about all these people rising from the grave and, all this stuff, this cannot happen till Mashiach returns, because he's literally the thing that gives life. This word, the light of man, right? In him was the light that lights up every man, right? You're not going to have that without him. So he got to come back for this to happen. And when he comes back, the devil is being cast into a bottomless pit. He ain't no work for Yah. Verse 6, blessed and holy is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such, the second death has no power. But they shall be priests of Elohim and of Mashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. So those people that gave their lives for the word of Yah, they will be raised up. So if you gave your life for the word of Yah, you'll be raised up. And you're going to reign as kings and queens with Mashiach for 1,000 years of the sabbatical kingdom. All right, verse 7. So we understand that's the first resurrection. That's in the sabbatical kingdom. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. So this is the end of the sabbatical year kingdom. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And listen, I'm going to say it again. If you got four quarters, you can't have four quarters on a circle. It don't work that way. You can have four pieces of a pie, but you can't have four quarters. All right, so this is on a flat earth. Verse 9. And they went on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about and the beloved city. And fire came down from Elohim out of heaven and devoured them. So despite having 1,000 years of peace, knowing that Yah is real, knowing that Mashiach is real, seeing resurrection of the dead, seeing all the ancients that we read about to guide us and help us. We got the priests, we got the Zadokian priests in here handling business, doing animal sacrifices, leading us, guiding us, doing everything. And ain't no devil to deceive you, right? And you still let the devil come down here and deceive you. Wasn't meant to keep the truth. All right? So he gets devoured. The devil gets devoured. All the evil people get devoured by fire comes straight out of heaven. Verse 10. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. So forever is when you die, right? That's forever. And then forever and ever is the after you die part. All right. Verse 11. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Elohim, and the books were opened, and another book was opened. So you got the other book that's open, which I would imagine is probably the book of Yah, the word of Yah. And then you got the book of what you did before it came in your life, and the book of what you did after. That's what I would imagine. All right. Which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in those books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. So we know the first resurrection happens. Everybody else isn't until after the 1,000 years. So after the sabbatical kingdom, everybody that's dead in the earth will be raised up and judged according to their works, right? And your works is written in the books, the works you did before you were saved and the works you did after you were saved. Verse 14. And death and the grave were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. So, yeah, there is two deaths. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So, there you have it. You have the whole salvation plan given. It's written out right there, showing you how things come about. It's written right there in the book, telling you the order of everything. This happens, and after this happens, that happens, and after this happens, that happens. Now, if somebody else comes and tells you, oh, this is happening, you should comfortably be able to go look in your book and say, well, no, that can't, that's not true. You're lying because this hasn't happened. Now, how it happens, I don't know, but I know this has to happen. That's how it says if it were very possible, even if it was possible, the very elect would be full, but it's not possible. Because we have the information, we have enough bones. If I have enough bones, I can tell you what kind of animal it is. I might not be able to tell you exactly what it looked like, but I can tell you what kind of animal it is because I have the bones. So we have the bones of prophecy can tell us what animal we're looking at. So we should not be fooled. And don't get it twisted. You can watch this class 100 times. You can study this 1,000 times. At the end of the day, if you do not repent from your sins, you will not understand enough to save your life. So the key is not just studying, but it's application of what the Holy Spirit allowed you to understand through your study. So that's all we're going to do today. Again, for what we're going to do immediately after this class, we're going to try to keep the prayer line open. So you can see the number at the top of our screen. It's 267-807-9495. That's the dial-in number. And then you want to enter in this code, 377-643-904. It's on the screen. All right. So this is our prayer line. We're going to keep it open for 30 minutes. You know, the servants of Yah are taking it a beating right now. We're all under attack, you know, but we're broken, but we're bent, but we're not broken, you know. So prayer, never underestimate the power of prayer. Y'all might not be hearing a particular individual, but he might hear the prayers of another that's praying for you. So we're going to keep that prayer line open. Yah's will, we will see you next week for Shabbat. If you have any questions or comments, I don't see any on the comments. Then again, you know, the comments come in late. I'm not seeing any questions on the chat. But if you would like to reach out to us, you can reach out to us on our website at and our email at info@israelitesgathering.com. You can also reach us in the app. You can chat with us directly through the instant messaging on the chat. And if you have any questions, like I said, we'll definitely be more than happy to help you. If you would like to tithe and help out towards this nationalistic movement to help us in these latter days, you can cash app us at money sign S word ATL. So money sign sword ATL. So that's all we're going to do today. Yah's will, we'll see you for next Shabbat. Until then, definitely keep your spirits lifted up. Understand that although you might feel alone, you're not alone, brothers and sisters. We all out here fighting. We all out here fighting. We all going through it. Ain't nobody going through some great time, because he says, in whom he loved, he would chasten. And we are dealt with as a nation, not just individuals. As a nation, it wasn't just the people that committed sin that went in captivity. We all went. So we're all related. So until then, everybody, Enjoy your Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, y'all.
Okay, y'all. All right. Everything is kind of getting slow. All right, y'all. Thank you. Am I on? Am I? Okay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this moment together. And please, enjoy the rest of your Shabbat. Let's see here. Tyrone Lewis, thank you so much for your super chat and support for my channel. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you so much. And family, I pray the Most High is with you in these final days. I pray he will send his most powerful angels to keep you safe and protected in this wicked Gentile world. We just have to endure until the end. Shabbat Shalom, family.